Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of APAC Dialogue. We have with us today Mr. Puneet Gupta, the Managing Director of NetApp India, and he will take us through the NetApp solutions and services that are available in India and the business model they follow. So, my first question is if you can give us an update on the portfolio of solutions and services that NetApp offers in India.
So I think let me start with the tagline you use. We're in the business of managing data, irrespective of where it sits. It can sit in the data center, it can sit on public cloud, on edge, on core, on devices, and we will manage the data extremely well. Now, if you look at our portfolio, it ranges from what we have done over the last 30 years, which is data storage management within the data center. We have transformed to data management on public cloud, and which is why our partnership with the three hyperscalers, which is Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. And now we have got into the cloud operations business, and with acquisitions of companies like Spot, Cloud Checker, InstaCluster, Data Mechanics, and others. And this portfolio positions us extremely well, not only from data storage management standpoint, but also from cloud operations and optimization.
Okay, thanks. So, as a strategy, then you already had an existing client base on storage, being one of the main players in the Indian market, and that for more than 2 decades. So, how has that strategic shift for the customers, enterprise customers who are already into storage, moving them towards cloud? And when typically now most of these enterprises have a multi cloud environment working with a number of OEMs. So, how have you helped in that shift?
So I think if you go back in time a little bit, a lot of customers have accelerated their cloud journey, and which means that customers who were working on an on-prem environment have now are working either with one or multiple cloud service providers. Given our partnership with the hyperscalers and given the fact that we've got our flagship operating system on tap, natively available with the hyperscalers, we can very seamlessly transition customers from the on-prem data center to a public cloud. In the world that we see, customers are going to have both, which means that they will have data sitting in data centers as well as they'll have data on the public cloud. And given our partnership, we can handle multi-cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud. I think that's the world we'll be. The fact that we have a solution across hyperscalers allows us to manage the multi-cloud environment extremely well. And customers will not find a difference in user experience that they had a few years back and in times to come.
Okay, thanks. So, in terms of if we translate that into the customers, whatever are referenceable or non-referenceable, which are the verticals that you witness maximum traction from, and briefly, what sort of use cases for some of your market customers do you have?
So this is more on the cloud side.
More on the cloud side.
So if you look at it in the market, so one of course is the digital natives, and digital natives span multiple verticals. You will see them on the retail side, you will see them on the fintech side, you will see them on the gaming side, wide across. The digital natives part of the business is extremely strong for cloud solutions because their IT operations is largely on the cloud. So whether it's from an optimization standpoint or managing data standpoint, I think that part is working well. We hear from many of our customers that cost of storage is a concern for them, especially in a country like India where data is exploding. And if you see what's happened in the last 2-3 years with the explosion of UPI, the inclusion of a large section of our population in the banking system has gone up. And with that, the way that digital natives can address a much larger section of the society has really transformed their business. So, which means you have more complexity to manage, you have larger data sets to manage, and that's where companies like us come in. The second part is that if you look at from a traditional standpoint, a lot of manufacturing companies, a lot of retail companies, a lot of consumer good companies, have made a strong transition from the on-prem data world to the cloud world. And in that journey, these customers just appreciate the fact that you can manage both on-prem and the cloud simultaneously, and that's where we really come in, and that's where we see a lot of traction.
Okay. You mentioned earlier, and which is a little obvious, that during the COVID, that sort of accelerated the cloud adoption. Having said that, even before COVID, there was gradually
Yes.
the deployment happening. So, my question is, what happened during COVID was, since for a lot of time there was this working from anywhere kind of scenario, lot of systems, sort of heterogeneous systems, heterogeneous networks just came into the whole ecosystem, and security obviously was a concern. Other than that, even productivity and optimization of productivity. So, how did you help your enterprise customers handle that challenge and mitigate those challenges?
So there were multiple parts to it. Okay. The first thing is the NetApp team itself had to be available for customers all the time. And we made a very smooth transition. Our employees were working from home. They were all available, logged on to our systems. Our availability of engineers and spares were available to all our customers. So if we say on a as is where is basis, the transition we made from a physical world to a virtual world was very smooth, and which meant that any customer on NetApp technology didn't have to worry about the fact that will I get enough support. So that I would call as the basics or keeping the lights on. Then came the part about customers wanting to deploy new applications as the need of the hour, or to expand their IT infrastructure, because now the demand on the IT team was going up. And we were online with almost all our customers. We re-architected a whole lot of infrastructure. There were customers who did workshops with us saying what we were doing in the past and what we want to do now is very different. So we worked with them both on the on-prem and the cloud side, and that's where business also picked up very well because customers were building more infrastructure, going on the cloud. So that was an online conversation. The good thing that happened in the journey is the nature of engagement changed, because in the earlier world, when we would deal with customers, it was largely face to face. The virtual engagement used to be very low. But now the whole thing transformed into a virtual world. Productivity was much higher, efficiency was better. All conversations were either on Zoom or Microsoft Teams or WebEx or whatever platform people were using. So that worked extremely well. So whether it is support or new infrastructure or new architecture, I think we were right there with our customers.
But when you said this nature of engagement change, uh, did that have a significant impact on the nature of the SLAs, what they used to be, and you had to sort of dynamically shift the SLAs also, because the way you were delivering earlier, as you mentioned rightly, primarily on-prem, maybe a little bit virtual. Now the thing was primarily virtual, and now again moving back towards a hybrid mode. So, have there been significant impact of SLAs, and if so, how?
So I think there were no impact on SLAs because their availability was always there. Engineers were available all the time. And the only place I think that we felt a little bit of challenge is that there were times when movement of people and goods were restricted in certain parts of a city, or entering into a building needed special approvals. But that challenge was like a few hours, right? It wasn't like it was not a matter of days. So candidly, if you ask me, none of our customers had to face any SLA challenge. And in these times, we're also a little extra sensitive about making sure that there is availability of both people and spares. The time was very challenging because the number of people who were testing positive, both on the customer side and employees and partners, was pretty high. But the part that I really feel good about, that everybody rose to the occasion. It wasn't just a NetApp issue, right? Our customers were equally sensitive and forthcoming and supportive. So none of our customers ever faced an SLA problem, and we managed it reasonably well.
Coming to the business side, the GTM strategy that traditionally as a storage solution provider that you used to follow, what has been the perceptible, if I may say, modification in the GTM strategy as you are shifting more towards a cloud solution provider? So, how is that shift in your GTM strategy?
So look, firstly, we are a 100% channel organization. 100% of our business happens through partners. Now, the change that is happening is that partners who are working in the cloud world are a different set of partners than some of the traditional ones. There are one set of folks in the traditional partners who are making the transformation to the cloud, but not everybody is. At the same time, there is emergence of new partners who only work in the cloud. And what we are doing is that for our old partners who want to go to the cloud, that's a no-brainer. We go work with them, skill them up, right? Get them on the business. But we are embracing the new world partners who say that we only are going to work in the cloud space. And that engagement is very different because in many cases they are as skilled or more skilled than we are, and both of us learn from each other, and then we find new use cases, new solutions. I think that part of our engagement is really scaling extremely well.
Okay. And the last question is, if we look a little bit into the future, maybe the next 5 to 6 quarters, what all are going to be your key focus areas? It can be expansion wise, product wise, or strategically. What are going to be the key focus areas?
I think the first is that for a lot of our customers and who have reasonable size infrastructure, clearly the way the market is that they're all growing with the market, they're all expanding. So our first job is to serve our customers well, the ones who've been on the NetApp technology. The second, I think, which we're going to be very focused on, is of scaling and building the business on what we call first party products. So the technology or the products that we announced with Microsoft and what we call Azure NetApp Files, with Amazon we call it FSx on tap, and with Google we have Cloud Volume Services. We'll be very focused on scaling this partnership and this part of the solution. This is where there's a lot of industry movement that's happening across the world and in India. This is where the customers will see enormous benefit of NetApp technology coming to the fore. And the third part that we'll be focused on is the cloud operations, because as customers accelerate their cloud story, their need for optimization, their need for efficiency, their need for productivity will only go up. So those are the three key areas that I think over the next 5-6 quarters we'll be on to.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.